All right, welcome to the Chosen Kingdom, and I'm the chosen one. This is the 2024 New Hampshire primary debate on Chosen Media Group's Chosen Kingdom. Tonight is sponsored by Insure a Patriot. You've seen the commercial that's out there with the preview here. We'll show it again at the end. Um, the Insure a Patriot happens to be the final glue in our exciting new project to fund small content providers and help them remain independent. We see a problem there and we think we've found a solution. So we hope all of you content providers, podcasters, who you'll learn about some of them at the end, come and join us. Come talk to us to learn more about why and how, and to become an affiliate, or even better, become a new customer. Insureapatriot.com. So this channel was geared towards information that is grassroots and outside of the mainstream. This election cycle is anything but regular. So we're really excited to bring on all of our candidates here in New Hampshire running for the governor, who have decided to bring their stories right to the people. So let me bring them on as we start here. We've got John Kiper on with us, as well as Shaun Fife. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Very good. This is exciting. Thanks for putting this together, Mark.
Thanks
Yeah,
for the two of you coming on. And we are waiting for one more. Ed, he's just getting off of work. Ed Laplante from the Constitutional Party is coming. John is from the Democrat Party. And Shaun is looking to be the Republican candidate. I was just introducing everybody about our show. John, you haven't seen our show so much. Shaun has been a regular person who spends a lot of time here. And, normally this channel has a whole big introduction with loud music at the beginning, but we usually follow that by scripture and then some gospel music before getting to the topic on point. Because we just like to start with a good base of where we are. But tonight, we're going to get right into the topic of New Hampshire and the debate for the sake of time. And we're going to expect this to run about 90 minutes, asking you all some questions. So welcome. Thank you for coming. I've already introduced you, so I think I'll skip over this part. But what I want to do first off is I want to give each of you about 3 minutes to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your platform in your own words, essentially an elongated elevator pitch. So thank you all for taking the opportunity to come on to a regular guy show and present to the online community how you plan to help New Hampshire and our country by stepping up to the plate as you have. It's really an amazing thing for each of you, whichever party you're working towards. And great. So he just came. Ed just came on board as well.
Hello.
So here's Ed. I'm bringing him on right at the office.
Ed, we were stalling right up till here. You timed it perfect, my man.
That's actually perfect. So I was just telling everybody, Ed, that we are a show about the little guy. We are coming up with topics that aren't normally approached by the mainstream media, and we lie within that community. So it's really exciting to have you guys on to come and talk to really on our side of the aisle, what is the grassroots community, and really deep within it. We hope to bring together a community that can help you guys, each of you, whatever your platform is, to grow that platform, to be heard, because so many of us can just get squelched out by the money that's involved in the campaigning. And so the Chosen Media Group, as well as my other platforms, were all developed the Magi Party. It wasn't to take away from the Democrats or the Republicans, but it was actually to help support people in helping to get that nomination and not to replace the party altogether. That was my vision for it. So I thank you all for coming. Ed, as I said, we're going to run about 90 minutes. And because you didn't hear it, I'll say we're going to do about 3 minutes max for each sort of answer for each of you. And we have about 11 questions. So first, let's start off with John. John, tell us a little bit about yourself and your platform. I'm going to bring you to the big picture, and you're on the stage. Tell us. Hey, John.
Thanks for having me on. So I am a lifelong New Hampshire resident. I grew up in Stratham over in the Seacoast area. My family moved to New Hampshire in the 80s. My dad was a nuclear engineer at the Seabrook power plant there. I graduated from Exeter High School in 2001. After that, I traveled around the world for a bit, ended up studying in Australia, and then came back and opened up my own restaurant in 2015 called Johnny Boston's International, which is in Newmarket, where I've been living and working ever since. I was a member of the ZBA, Zoning Board of Adjustment, as well as the Energy and Environment Committee in Newmarket and the Town Council. It was on these boards that I realized that New Hampshire and Newmarket were having walking into a housing crisis. We did not have enough housing. And I also realized there was a demographic crisis in the sense that our state is getting much older. The fastest growing demographic is 65 and up, which grew 50% from 2011 to 2021. And I realized that both these things, housing and the demographics, were connected and were not sustainable. So I wanted to do the next logical thing after being on the town council, and that's run for a state rep or senator. But as I'm sure you are aware, our senators and state reps only are paid $100 a year. I looked into this further and realized that 80% of our state legislature is either rich or retired, and there are very few working class people in Concord representing us. And I think that, frankly, is the fundamental flaw in New Hampshire politics. And if you look into it, New Hampshire is the only state in the entire country that does not pay its reps. So some people say, how could we afford to? We have 400 reps. Well, we only paid them $500 a week when they're in session. That's about 6 months. It's less than $5 million. And I'll point out that states like Mississippi, Louisiana, New Mexico, very poor states, find money to pay their state reps. And this wouldn't be enough money that anyone would be a career politician. It's not a lot of money, but it's enough money that a bartender or a police officer, a nurse, a therapist, working class people could get up there. A stay-at-home mom could serve. And I think what's happening right now is it's not really about Republicans and Democrats in the state house. It's about elderly people, frankly. The average age in the New Hampshire legislature is 64. And I just think they're out of touch with the average issues of Granite Staters. So I'm trying to highlight that issue, the lack of pay for the legislature, as well as housing and issues just of young people in general. Younger people. I'm 41. I'm not that young, but thank you.
I see me. It must be my turn. Well, we can't hear you, Mark. I don't know if you're trying.
Sorry about that.
No sweat. So I'm Shaun Fife. On here, I guess people know me, but for the most part, I'm new to the whole political scene altogether. Kind of similar with John. I think a working man's perspective or working person's perspective. Just check and balancing, make sure that the Constitution's being followed once something does arrive on the desk. It's corruption is really evident. What can you do about it other than displace it? Not to call everybody out or anything in particular out, but by putting trustworthy people in the right positions and offering myself as a candidate is one thing, but as we do this, I hope anybody who could do their civic duty try to approach this. And we get a lot of traction through the Magi, but we also have people like Therese Boustache has put together We the People of New Hampshire sites on Facebook and on Twitter and places like that. Those groups are great. If you reach out and contact any of them, everybody has pretty much the same goals. But I'm concentrating on getting accountability for people like at YDC, our judges, politicians in general. The two-tier justice system isn't supposed to even be. It's supposed to be same rules for everybody. And so kind of go through the closet, clean it out, get everybody on board with not being bought out. Speak for the people. Handle the government according to the way the people are voting, not personal opinions. And I have my own things like the Magi token, I call it, but you call it anything you want. A token concept to help our money situation here in New Hampshire. It helps generate revenues that are supposed to displace property tax and similar taxes, but still have the income coming into the state, coming from somebody other than just the locals here. Voting machines, I want them out. That's where I stand on that. I just don't feel like it's constitutional at all. And lead ammunition. We can't get that in our country. I think that it's a great product New Hampshire could produce by mining the lead here ourselves. And I'm completely against chemtrails. You know, I want to do what we can to get them to quit modifying our weather for the better or worse. It's just not natural. And I don't think that it's fair that they do that to us. And those are a large part of my campaign, but simple things like getting hunting and fishing licenses locally, letting the people from out of state pay for theirs. But here, it should be a God-given right to be able to go get subsistence. Part of, like John with the housing, just getting your own meals. Some people could go catch a fish, but to stop them from doing that, I feel like that we have plenty of fish in this state, and we even grow more and stock them. That's great. But without going too long here, those are big topics of mine. And offshore windmills, I'd say no.
Great. So perfect. Let me bring on Ed. Here you go, Ed.
Okay,
You're up.
I'm at the plant. I'm an auto mechanic. I've been an auto mechanic for 40 plus years. I've been at the same place for 31 of those years. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. While I was in the Marine Corps, I got full custody of my son. And rather than re-enlist, I chose to get out and bought a house in Richmond, New Hampshire. And first week here, he broke his leg. I didn't have any health insurance. I had health insurance to the VA from me, but that doesn't cover my son. So I had to get a second job. I worked at the garage 60 hours, and I got a second job working at Walmart for 20 or 32 hours. And while I was there, I met a lot of elderly ladies on fixed income and a lot of college kids, not fixed income, but low income. And they all have the same issues. I got to hear a lot of people's issues, and working on cars, I'm in a position where I get to talk to the customers, judges, policemen, firemen, teachers, cooks, you name it, all walks of life here at the garage. And, we talk and, as people do, and, hey, we got an issue with this, we got an issue with that. And before I knew it, I was like, well, hey, was joking around, and somebody said, oh, you should run. And I was like, yeah, nah, that's not for me. And it seems to me that I heard somewhere that Congress is 98% of them has never had a blue collar job. Well, my thought is, how can they represent you when they don't even know you? Not personally, but they haven't walked in your shoes. You know what I mean? And so that was my thing, So I ran for U.S. Senate about 3 years ago. And much to my surprise, on the Granite Rock, I came in second place for the straw poll against Chuck Norris, Kevin Smith, Don Bulldog. Don Bulldog won it. I came in second. I doubled what Kevin Smith had. He came in third. And Chuck Norris, he wasn't even on the charts. But anyhow, so I thought, hey, this is cool. Then there was another poll, and it was on that, and I came in third. And I'm like, hey, this is great, And I didn't take campaign donations because I didn't want to be beholden to nobody. And that kind of bit me in the foot, because it turns out when we had to do the big debates, even though I came in second place and third place with 11 millionaires, they wouldn't let me debate because the threshold was $500,000 you had to raise for the RNC. And I was like, you guys seem more interested in raising money than you do representing the people. I'm like, well, it takes money to do. I'm like, yeah, but, the people, in my eyes, the people spoke, hey, you think an auto mechanic, single dad, working 2 jobs, that would be like, hey, this guy came in second place in a grass poll against 11 of the best senators, people running. You think it'd be like crazy news, No, not at all. then of course I wouldn't get vaxxed. So I that was my fault. And hey, that was their choice. I had the choice whether to get vaxxed or not to debate, and I chose not to, and that's fine. They have their rules, and I don't hold that against them. That was my choice and their choice. So at the end, it led me to help form the Constitution Party, New Hampshire. As you might think, with all the Constitution, neither side seemed to follow the Constitution a lot, and that bothered me. So, we obviously Constitution leans more towards right, conservative types, but you don't have to be a constitution. You don't have to be conservative just because you're a constitutionalist, and vice versa. So as long as you're following the Constitution, that's my new thought. That's what I've been doing the last 2 years, and now I'm the state chairman for the Constitution Party. I just got back from Utah, and now we're ready to hit the road running. They nominated me to run for governor, and I gladly accepted, and here I am.
Wonderful, Ed.
Willing to work with anybody, just as long as you're constitutional, let's work together,
Thanks, Ed. So let me just say, so after hearing the three of you as an outsider, because you guys know I do reside in New Jersey, I'm hearing, funny enough, you guys are three parties, and I'm hearing a lot of the same things from the three of you. And that's pretty interesting for our viewers. It's something to think about as to, what are we looking for as solutions going here? So let's go on to question the first real question here. And so everybody knows there's the pink elephant in the room lately. It's in every room. It's Trump and Biden. The presidential race will dominate the headlines and the narrative. Please give us some insight into how you feel about each candidate and what you would do should either of them become president, where you would need to partner with them in January of 2025. And what does that scenario look like with each of them should it happen? John, you want to go first? Oh, wait, I don't hear you. Hold on, John. Sorry.
All right.
Now you're good.
I can hear you too.
So
Gotcha.
I think, along with a lot of people, I'm disappointed to be having the choice between Biden and Trump again. It would be nice to vote for someone under the age of, I don't know, 78 for one. But things, be it what it is, I think that the key to me is really focusing on New Hampshire's issues. And I think if you look at the $34 trillion the deficit right now, we're going to find that the federal government is going to have less money to help the state of New Hampshire. So we're going to have to really start figuring out how we're going to solve our problems within our means, because I think that relying on the feds for, housing grants, for instance, might be a problem in the next couple of years, because I think that pretty quickly the debt is going to be the dominant factor in the economy and the dominant factor in the political arena. And I think that neither Trump nor Biden is really going to be able to make any dents in that. So I think that really it almost doesn't matter which one of them wins, because that's going to be the dominant issue. And we're really going to have to just think about a lot of the problems of New Hampshire, and answers are going to have to come within New Hampshire, if that makes sense. And really, think about, we need to do what's best for us, and sort of, in a way, ignore what's happening in DC, because, Congress is more or less functionally broken. They can't really do that much. And I think between that and just the deficit, I'm really looking to make New Hampshire function as a state in a sustainable way, and just looking at greater New England, how can Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont sort of work together with Massachusetts to create a sustainable economy with, water, food, electricity, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. All right. And Shaun, you're up now.
I think I'm going to operate pretty much along the same lines, whichever one gets in. It's just, who are you working with? Now, with Trump, he wants to make the Iron Curtain. I think that's a great idea, getting a defense like that here in America. But if he plans on doing that, I want to make sure it's built in America. And I'd actually like to do part of that here in New Hampshire. And so taking that opportunity for those jobs, for that infrastructure to be here locally, I think would be behoove of us. And as far as Joe goes, Joe or Trump, the issues of border, no matter how it gets handed over, the border is an issue. And so we definitely have to be watching our border, in control of that ourselves. We don't want to rely on the federal government. And so I think, like what they did in Arizona, we should make it so we can have border security authority, some sort of a bill that gives us the rights to handle this without having to rely on the federal government for it. And like John said, the funding, instead of having to rely all on the funding, I rather actually provide the things that we need the funding for right at home, from lead ammunition to our own produce. I got a plan for indoor grows that would use prison labor as part of the reduction in cost for heirloom produce only. That way M&RA and other things don't come into play, and we don't have to wonder what we're getting. I would like to produce top-notch, best in the world produce here in New Hampshire, and so much so that we end up exporting it instead of needing to import it, because food's just not something that you want to rely on anybody else for if you can avoid it. We have the land, and so with that, you need power. Definitely all you can do to keep cost of power down. The fuel tax is, I'm trying to avoid that with some of the token money, if that comes to fruition. But instead of putting the burden on people trying to do the work, put the burden on tourism and other things instead, or the export of this, putting tariffs inward would be good. Power, you have a bad storm, you lose power. I want people to produce power at home. So that's how I'm viewing energy, is instead of how do you sustain its transmission, how do we sustain its production at its inevitably where it's going to be used at home. And so that's kind of what I would concentrate on with both the governments, is both the presidents, is how are we going to do this for ourselves? How do we reduce the burden on the country? And how do we be involved in the security of our nation for ourselves?
Thanks, Shaun. All right, Ed, you're up.
Okay, well, as the name of my party suggests, Constitution Party, I'd get along with both of them as long as they're abiding by the Constitution. Both of them, they just seem to do executive orders at the drop of a hat. Not acceptable. Executive order is not constitutional, no matter what they say. Oh, it's good for this, and if one does it with one, it can be undone with another one. So that's the monkey business. Got to stop. One puts it in, the other one takes it out. The other one puts it in, the other one takes it out. Back and forth, back and forth. I want to make sure they're both doing stuff constitutional, no matter who gets in. There's plenty of blame to go around on both sides, but when the bottom line comes to it, I want to make sure they're obeying the Constitution, whoever it is. As far as New Hampshire goes, all this money that gets sent overseas to Ukraine and all this other stuff, I'd like to see like a tariff so we can get some of our money back. If we're putting all this money towards Ukraine, and we have no choice. Why don't we do that? Another issue we're having. I'm on a school board for the SAU County. That's 6 schools that I represent, and the education is horrible. 38% proficiency here in math, like 32 in science and 42 in English, and that's just not acceptable. And it's been going down for 20 years. It's the worst it's been in 20 years. And yet the SEL, social emotional learning. Okay, yep, some parts of it is good. However, the proof's in the pudding. To me, that's the biggest thing. The education. I'd want to have like a co-op thing here in New Hampshire, school choice. I'd really push for that. And as far as New Hampshire goes, and I'd buck and fight against anything they try to push in. Otherwise, that also energy. We get a lot of energy and stuff like that, electricity, and we're heating oil from Massachusetts, oddly enough. Well, now Massachusetts is going Eversource and all that stuff, National Grid. They're cutting back on their supplies, trying to push the electric. That ain't working. That sounds horrible here in the Northeast. What are you? That's just ridiculous. And it's going to be horrible this winter. And they go pushing more electric cars, and they get the charging stations, which I know something about because I've been in the business for 40 years. The charging station, they got 7 of them, 7 multi-charging across the country. And yet they're saying they need 150 million. You only have 7, and you're supposed to get, by the year 2030. This is unsustainable. You're going to pull your head out of your butt. It's not going to work. Fix it. I'll work with both of them, however we can fix it. But I'd be stretched to say not in New Hampshire. They can fight me all they want about it, but hey, that's bottom line. It'll buckle down and say no. We're just not doing that. You can do whatever you got to do, and hey, consequences be damned. I'll deal with them later. And that's pretty much how I feel on that.
Great. Thanks, Ed. So we're going to go on to the next question, and this one comes, and let me just share my screen here a second. This one comes from Karen Testerman. Karen Testerman, among others, in the state of New Hampshire, is questioning whether or not politicians can unilaterally, of their own accord, act to open or close presidential primaries without voter consent. What's the difference? In an open primary, registered voters and the same registered voters can show up and just announce the party primary in which they wish to participate, and then vote even if in bad faith. Nationally, the same registration scheme surfaced in multiple states in 2024, including Delaware. And let me just remove this a second so we can show all of us here. And which the judge ruled was unconstitutional. 22 states plus the District of Columbia purport to allow same-day voter registration, which in 8 states has resulted in voting rates that exceeded 100% of the state population. This has been a hot button issue in the Granite State, where New Hampshire leads the way in the primary season. What is your position on open primaries, and what would you do about it, and how would you assure confidence in the New Hampshire vote? This one I'm gonna start this time, and let me go back to this. Shaun, why don't you go first, and next one Ed will go first.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Like the judge said, it's unconstitutional. I feel like the Republicans got shorthanded when they made it so that you could register, vote in our primary, and then switch back the same day. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't read that it's right. And seeing how everybody reacted, nobody else most of the people in the party, not the politicians, but the people, didn't think it was right. Now, I understand the perspective of these people that could vote in either party as an independent. I understand how it's appealing to them because they get a say. And then in the long run, you might end up getting that. I see the strategy behind it, but I don't think that it's constitutional. And I don't support it, is where I stand on it. Anything to do with the elections should be decided by people in the elections. And there shouldn't be any retroactive changes to rules, especially when there's court cases going on relevant as they are now. But it's a hot topic. And for voters to trust their elections, I don't think that people should be able to flip-flop the same day as they just cast a vote. That's
great.
My answer.
Great. Thank you, Shaun. Ed, you want to go?
Sure. We went through this just this last term with Kelly Ayotte. For whatever the reason, the Democrats said they weren't going to have Joe Biden refused to be on the ballot to show his there's a disdain for not having New Hampshire, North Carolina be the first in the primary. So they took him off the ballot. So everybody was like, well, what the heck's going on with that? And now I understand why they did it, because they said, okay, open primary, bang, guess what? Now Kelly Ayotte gets 20. They tell all the people, go and vote for Kelly Ayotte, so you're not wasting your vote because Biden's not on the ballot. Like I said at first, I was like, well, that's crazy. Why not put him on the ballot? It's ridiculous. Aha. With Kelly Ayotte, hey, we'll throw Trump's numbers off. We'll have her, all our Democrats all go in and vote for him. Her, I'm sorry. And maybe, hey, they'll bump him off. So, yeah, it's unconstitutional. And I'm definitely against that without a doubt. That's just recipe for disaster. And I understand, okay, well, the third parties, independents, it gives them a choice. However, it opens up the floodgate for a lot of dishonesty and, meandering. Just not a good move. Like I said, and above all else, I feel it's unconstitutional.
Great.
So,
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
John, you are up. Was it any different in your party?
So 40% of New Hampshire is unaffiliated voters. So about 30% are registered Democrats, 30% are registered Republicans. And if you look at the, at least the gubernatorial primary, the turnout is really, really low. So I'm in favor of open primaries only because we've got a two-party system. If we had three parties and there was somewhere for those people in the middle to go, I would be sort of more open to that. But because of this two-party system, it's this binary, and I feel like people really don't want to commit to one part or the other because they're just, upset, or not upset, but they're tired of the two-party system. So that's why I like the open primary. I mean, I understand why people don't like it as much. There is some room for tomfoolery, but I don't think that happens too often. In terms of same-day registration, I think as long as you can verify somebody's a voter, and we have ways of doing that, we should have as many voters as possible, within whatever is legally verifiable. I've worked a lot of elections in Newmarket in my town, and, the people that run the elections are very good at their jobs. There's a lot of great people that volunteer to do that, and I have a lot of faith in that and in our election system. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's all these little towns, and every system is disconnected from every other system. And so it makes it, I think, in my opinion, hard to mess with the integrity of the voting just because it's all disconnected. I mean, even the voting machines aren't connected to the internet. They're connected, just plugged into the electricity, and that's it. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John. So we'll go on to question 4. And on this one, I don't know if I can make you start, Ed, because you might not be certain of what it is. So maybe I'm gonna let's do this. Let's go with Shaun on this one. So this one's from Joe Nugent. What will the candidate do about amendments to 72A and 73A? And are they aware of fraud surrounding these amendments? And this has to do, if you remember, with same-sex marriage. And, we're just looking for you to give a general sort of opinion on where you're at on the topic, and how does it affect you and your state, and what decisions would you make any different than what's going on today for each of you? Shaun?
Well, I don't feel like the government belongs in your bedroom at all. And so to end, and I think that it's too invasive of the government to even use marriage and how many children you have, etc., to govern how much you're taxed. I understand the reasoning behind it, but it's none of their business what you do at home, and to govern your taxes according to how you operate your family or the lack thereof. I don't think that that's constitutional for the reason that it's supposed to be every man's created equal, and that's not treating them equal. So no matter, for better or worse, I don't think that it's right anything to do with marriage altering the way your government handles it's the way it interacts with you in any way, shape, or form, I think is just unconstitutional, in my opinion. So that's where I stand on is it's doesn't fit my mold. It just shouldn't be necessary. There's other ways to govern people other than by judging their size of their family, their sexuality, or their position in their life.
So let me ask you, civil union or no?
Kind of the same thing. It's no matter how you're committed to another person, you should be treated the same at work. You should be treated the same in government. You should be treated the same throughout all your aspects of life here in this country. I don't feel like that should be a governing factor. It shouldn't even be any of their business. Is
Thanks,
why
Shaun.
I would avoid that. Yeah.
John, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I believe that whoever wants to get married should be able to get married, same sex or not. It's kind of funny. My girlfriend keeps asking me when we're going to get married. And I've said many times, I want to keep the government out of my relationship. So I don't understand why church isn't, or why marriage isn't just a thing that churches do. I don't know why the government has to issue a license to be married. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think we're permanent to death in this country, and that's just to me another, useless piece of paperwork. I'm really anti-paperwork. I was going to sum up my entire political philosophy. How do we minimize the paperwork? And yeah, marriage license. I mean, to me, it's like, it just seems really ridiculous, and unnecessary. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. And Ed, now you know that what it's about, you can answer too.
Sure. Yep. No, well, like both of them said, the government shouldn't be in your bedroom at all. It's none of their business. What you do behind closed doors, and so in my eyes, that's just not right. However, that being said, now what I do have an issue with is the constitutional of this. When it was voted on, 72% of the people were against this gay marriage, which hey, fair enough, people. But here's what I have an issue with: when they voted on it, Judge Keegan, Seminara, and IGB had all three of them had performed hundreds of gay marriages. Now they weren't legal back then, so I felt they should have recused themselves from the judgment, from ruling on it, and they really should have, because that's very unbiased. Now, that being said, the government shouldn't be in the bedroom. I agree with that 100%. If you want a gay marriage, that's fine. However, the ruling, the way they did it, they should recuse themselves. So if it was came up again, they have to re-vote on it, revisit it. I'd be all for them revising it again, revisiting it. And if it came out with the same way, then that's fine. But at least now, but it probably would come out the same way because the same people are voting on it, But that's the biggest issue I have with that, is that all three of them had performed gay marriages. They should recuse themselves. That's how I feel on that.
Great. Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
So now I'm gonna go on to where am I here? Let's go on to this. So we've been hearing a lot of talk about digital coinage. One of the people actually in here asked about, what it was that Shaun was saying. Even from the likes of both presidential candidates, they both seem to be for it in some sort of a way. What is your position on the topic of physical versus digital? And do you have a solution for the state of New Hampshire? Ed, why don't you go first on this one?
Sure. So when I was running for the United States Senate, we were in Salem, matter of fact, doing a live TV debate there. It was me, Chuck Morris, Bruce Fenton, who you guys all probably know, really big on the cryptocurrency here in New Hampshire. He's a millionaire with it. And they asked me the same question, and like I told them, but hey, 10 years ago, I would have been like, no, it's not backed by nothing. It's fake money. But then you start to thinking, hey, our currency right now ain't really backed on nothing either. So they're just printing it, printing it, printing it. It's not really backed on nothing. So I kind of changed my views on it in the last 10 years. I'm like, so it's backed by nothing now. What's the difference between cryptocurrency and that? What we got. So, anyways, they asked me that during the debate. And I said, you know what? I got just the man for this. I says, if I'm elected to the United Center, I'll ask my good friend Bruce. So I turned to Bruce Fenton and I said, Bruce, would you help me out with this? If I get elected senator, I'd like to have you help me out and this and that. And he kind of was shocked. Everybody else was shocked that I asked another candidate that was my opponent to help me out on it. And he said, and I'd love to. Thank you. I'd be honored. And we talked after. And to be honest with you, right now, this is my same position. I'd call my good friend Bruce and say, Bruce, how can we alleviate this? What can we do to do this? Because in my eyes, he knows more about this than I do. And that's what I'm all about. Finding the best person for the job, regardless of he's an independent libertarian or, so I don't care who it is. If they're the best man for the job, that's who I'm going to put in front of it. And I know he knows more about it than most of the people I know. So that's my outtake on this.
Great. Thanks, Ed. John, you want to go next on this one?
Sure. I am definitely, I understand cryptocurrency and the whole thing. I'm deeply skeptical of it because of the lack of transparency and the fact that you cannot necessarily know who's controlling it. And the idea that if we were to switch to a digital currency, the government could potentially just shut your money off if you were to do something that it did not like. I also think, I've been telling the kids this for years, if they really want to, give it to the man, we should all just go back to cash, because the credit card companies, there's I run a restaurant, so I got to pay them 3-4% every year, and it's thousands of dollars. I tried at one point to switch. I was going to just get an ATM, put it right next to my register, and just say, hey, we're going cash only. But a bunch of people were like, hey, I don't even have an ATM card anymore. So I definitely, I think that in general, we should try to get off of credit cards, and that's sort of a way of moving off of the digital currency, because I'm a little skeptical of who's pulling the strings there and what's happening behind the curtain. And maybe I'm a bit of a Luddite on this issue, but yeah, thank you. That's how I feel.
Well, you know what? I'll just say before we move on, when you win the Democratic nomination and they both win their nominations, which Jed already did, we'll go and we'll do this again right from your restaurant live. How about that?
Okay.
So let me go to Shaun.
Well, I kind of have a gripe with the way cash is handled anymore. They've really engineered it right out of our society. And I feel like anything that's government, like if you go to make an LLC and you go to the office, or even for the federal government, say if you go to the post office, you go to use cash and you're the first 5, 6, 7, 8 people of the day. They say, well, we haven't had any transactions yet and we can't break $100 bill. Like every single one of these places should have cash in hand. It should be in denominations that you could break several $100 bills before you even open your doors for business for the day. And the other thing they do to you is they make you have exact change. Like they can't even keep the extra change just to get the thing to process. So I think there's definitely some issues with the way our state and federal government handle our money, and forcing you to go towards blockchain currency and digital currency and forcing you to be tracked. I'm completely against all of that. I don't mind if you use it, but I don't feel like you should be forced to use it. And so that's why I figure these tokens are a great alternative to everything, where it's an unstable fiat market with the dollar, and it's all these other digital currencies. Most of them aren't backed by anything solid. So to get the bank to accept whatever currencies they're willing to and transition them into a token that you have leased here in New Hampshire would stabilize our economy, so that at least we know our tokens' values and we know that they are backed by any currency you decide to get back. So you're not forced any particular way. But to have a physical hard thing, so even if you lost power or banks are closed for a holiday, you should have some physical thing that you can use. And so that's why I'm big on supplementing our commerce with this opportunity to use tokens. And so that's kind of how I feel on crypto is if you're going to use it, good, but don't let this government force you into being forced to use it and having your social profile or the way you vote or the way you act or your speeding tickets, things like that shouldn't govern whether you can access your money. And so any hooks or strings that they try to attach to it, I'm completely against. It's your money while it's in your possession, whether it's a token or if it's actual currency of some sort. Um, to limit you in your ability to use that, I think is criminal. So every opportunity to keep cash on hand, but accept digital. I'm the more ways you can take money, the better. But don't force people down any specific fiat currency.
Great. Perfect. So you know what I want to do? I just want to take 1 second because I wanted to show before just some of where people can find all your platforms. John's live on Facebook. I know Shaun has a Facebook profile. Ed, do you Facebook yourself? I don't, so I don't know. I couldn't
Yeah.
go look. Great. Um John also has his website where you can go and you can donate right to him here. You guys are seeing this, right? Perfect. And then Shaun has it right on the Magi Party site. We built him a website here, and you can donate through WinRed here.
I really
Uh,
looked like that 6 months ago.
he did. He did. That's not another person, not a caveman. So, so then Ed has the Constitution Party of New Hampshire. This is his site. You can get to him here. So I want you guys to realize that you have a place to go where you can go and learn all about their platform because you're not going to get everything about them here. But I would suggest you guys go and help them out if you like what they're standing about. Give them a helping hand. I know Shaun and Ed don't claim for too much money. It doesn't look like John is really out here pushing to make money either. But that being said, even the reason why Chosen Media Group has decided to make a change and make a revenue model and help people generate revenue is because it does take money to do these things. And I don't want any of you to be restricted, that if you need help, you come to us and, just like I've done with Shaun, and I'll help you guys raise funds, get out your message, do whatever you need to do. Happy to help you guys. So happy that you came. So let me just get back to the questions. Let's see here. We are on to this. New Hampshire is the live free or die state and a swing state. However, the voter rolls have leaned toward the Democrat Party for about the last 25 years or so, according to registered voters. How do you plan to convince the masses that you're the person for the job of the governor of the state of New Hampshire? Shaun, you want to go on this one
Sure.
first?
Yep. I think that largely we're really rooting for Donald Trump to get in. Having a dominant Republican Party in New Hampshire is going to work well with that. It's on the gamble that Trump does win. It's on the gamble that if they even let him become elected the way things are going. But I feel like it's going to work for him. I think that we'll get things straightened out. And I'm behind him. So by having a Republican candidate, you're going to end up with the conservative values, which honestly, a lot of the city people and a lot of the people here in New Hampshire have moved in from other places, and that's not what they're even looking for. But the reason why you would go for that is because it's going to work well with the rest of the government, where Republican Party has performed distastefully here in the recent past, and so that's a reason why I'm running, is to fix that. I'm expecting the fix in the Republican Party, so don't judge it on what it's been. Judge it on what it'll be if I get elected. Is the reason why I'd go Republican.
Great.
That's plain cut and dry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. John, you want to go here?
Sure. You know, I was actually just double checking on the Secretary of State's website, and there's currently more registered Republicans in New Hampshire than there are Democrats. So I'm not sure where they got that info, but
I pulled it from the internet. It was a list of number of registered, but maybe it was wrong data. I just pulled it today.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's kind of funny because New Hampshire's got the 40% of New Hampshire's, as I said earlier, is registered or is unaffiliated voters, as we call them, or independent voters. So I think really that's where the whole kind of key to winning New Hampshire's elections lies. It's where are the unaffiliated voters going? And for the last 8 years, last 4 elections, they went with the Republicans. So that's kind of why I got involved, is because I felt like, and this is kind of going back to the closed primary thing. I feel like if we had a closed primary, the Democrats would pick even worse candidates because it's like only the party elites that are showing up as it is, So half of my plan, not half, but a big part of my plan is to get unaffiliated voters to show up in the Democratic primary and push them to a more logical place, because they keep picking these candidates that just the middle of the road voter doesn't like them, doesn't connect with them. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're elitist. A lot of times they're, lawyers, lobbyists, landlords, and not the type of people that the average New Hampshire person wants to elect. So that's kind of why I got in there. It is, as I'm sure you've heard, the Democrats used to be the party of the working class. They're not anymore. And in my opinion, to get back to that point, we need to elect more working class people such as myself. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, John. All right, Ed.
Well, I look at it a little bit differently. Being a former Republican running on the candidate, Republican candidate ticket, most of the people I talk to, they're so ticked off that the guy that they voted for ended up stabbing them in the back, and that's the way it feels, And so my thought was on starting a third party, the Constitution Party. Donald Trump ain't going to be around forever, and whether he gets elected or he doesn't get elected, this probably might be his last time. If he does get elected, okay, that's second term. He can't serve no more than 2 terms. Doesn't get elected, okay, he's probably going to be too old next time. So why not go Constitution Party? And national-wise, but New Hampshire-wise, and I see Chuck Morris running and Kelly Ayotte running. Okay, now to me, it says the future of the Republican Party is their past. Do you want to vote for the past again? Well, except for Shaun. I mean, it's all sincerity. Shaun, you're a good guy, without a doubt. Present
I like
company
everybody
excluded.
I mean, we're all pretty tasteful fellas, I think.
Yes, yep, I believe that too. So that's my take on it. Want to go the Constitution Party? George Washington warned us of the dangers of a 2-party system. So, and hey, Constitution Party is welcome for everybody. Just believe in the Constitution. That's it. Unaffiliated. And I heard so many young people say, it's rigged. The system's rigged. The 2-party. I know it seems like that, but why not go with a third party then? If you believe in the Constitution, we're open for you. We don't care if you're Republican, Independent, Libertarian, Democrat. Believe in the Constitution. That's it. And if you're constitutional, I think we could be able to reach across both aisles. The best person for the job is the best person for the job, no matter what party they are. And that's the way I look at it. I'll work with a Democrat if they're the best person at their job. I got no problem with it. But you be good at your job, and not just because you're a Democrat and not just because you're a Republican, but you're constitutional and you know your stuff. And that's how I look at it.
Great. Thanks, Ed. So we're going to do a quick 30-second commercial, and then we're going to go on to the right question for it. The next question is on taxes. So hold on 30 seconds.
At InsuraPatriot.com, our partners are aligned with your values. While we can't control who the most efficient carrier is for your area, we become the service model that acts as the intermediary with you and the best products in the market. No more waiting on robocalls to be shipped off to a foreign call center.
All right. So, tax plan for the state. How do we get to a balanced budget for New Hampshire? Ed, why don't you go first?
Well, that is a rough question. My thought is, a lot of our taxes go to schools and stuff like that, and school choice, and they're performing so poorly. It's hard to justify that much, but that's another tax part of it. But the rest of the taxes, any bureaucratical unnecessary tax, I'd have accountants go over it, and constitutionally, we have a couple people that are accountants in the Constitution Party, and we'd talk about it, and say, okay, this is unnecessary tax. Let's revise this. Let's see, any tax that you have to put on, like that burdens somebody, it's just unneeded, unwanted. A tax on, a tax on this, and if you have to tax something just to make extra revenue, maybe we should look at why we're doing this and why we need extra, and stop spending. We have spending is so out of control. We throw money at this, throw money at that. When you get a credit card and the limit's $500, that's your limit. You don't get to increase it for another $1,000, then $10,000, then $100,000. The tax ceiling is just so high now, and we keep doing it. So we have to stop spending. I know it's going to be horrible. It's going to be tough, but we got to trim the fat somewhere. There's a lot of unnecessary things that we're doing in agencies that have to be done away with. It's going to be tough, but hey, unfortunately that's what we've got to do.
Thanks, Ed. All right, Shaun.
I think the taxes aren't all called taxes, but there's a lot of taxes, like interest on your credit cards. I view that as a tax. Basically, there should be a limit on that that's half of or a third of what it is. Like 10 or 12% should be a limit on any sort of interest. And even that, I think, is absurd. But so these taxes, they don't call taxes. Like your hunting license, it's a tax. I don't feel like we should be paying for hunting licenses. But as far as the federal tax go, that's part of what this token thing is about. If you're able to get compensated with these tokens and avoid the federal tax altogether, then you don't have to worry about trying to get it back from Uncle Sam with all the strings attached to it. And so that's a large part of using that as a tool to avoid involuntary taxation to this government that's spending a lot of money on things that we don't even agree with. That's my view on taxes. Not only do I think that it's out of control, but I think that we got to develop our own way to prevent being taxed excessively involuntarily, because who signs up for 30, 40, 50% of their money to go away before it even hit your bank account? So I think the Federal Reserve is going to be put in check, and the quickest way to do that is to put limits on what they can do to you here in New Hampshire, and give people alternatives, kind of like I'm talking about with the token, so that they're not trapped in something that they're no interest or reason to fund. If it's against their values, they shouldn't be forced into it. And so my view on taxes is they're too high, and we need a way around it. It goes back to Donald Trump is saying that he doesn't think that he thinks there's a way for him to completely eliminate the income tax. Well, I think something like that's necessary. They're taxing people out of their home, and there should be, like a senior citizen can make $18,000 without being taxed. First off, I think that's about a third of what it should be. And I don't think it should be just senior citizens. I think that you shouldn't be able to tax anybody until they make at least minimum wage for a 40-hour week, which is around $38 or $39,000 a year. And so that's my view on taxes. It's got to be a way around it until at least you've made enough to live on.
Great. Thank you, Shaun. And John?
Yeah, I think New Hampshire's got plenty of ways of raising revenue right now, and I don't think we need any new ones. I think one thing that's really important for people to realize is that in Concord, they have cut taxes for corporations and for the wealthy over the last few years. And what has happened is that it has caused an increase in our local property taxes, and everyone's property taxes are now going through the roof. And it's really important that when the government cuts taxes on any level, they tell us what services they're going to cut. Because if they do not cut a service, then another tax will have to go up to compensate for that initial tax cut. So if they cut the taxes for the rich, it's going to come back to you and I one way or the other. So I think that's just really important for people to understand that, we have roads and water and schools that need to get paid for, and we need revenue to pay for that. I would love, this is obviously just kind of a pipe dream, but I heard Berkshire Hathaway there, Warren Buffett, saying that if every company paid as much taxes as his company paid, we wouldn't even need an income tax because the corporations could pay for it. And I think that if we went to a system like that, I guarantee you, if Amazon, if the federal government was being funded by corporate income tax alone, Amazon would be paying taxes. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't be able to weasel their way out of it if that was the only way that the federal government could get its money. So that's one thing that I really think is important, that people in New Hampshire realize that the state of New Hampshire pays $300 million in income taxes that we do not get to the federal government, that we do not get back in services through Social Security or whatever. And how can we get that $300 million back into the state of New Hampshire? I think that's really important. And I got to log off here, guys. I just found out one of my employees is sick, and I got to go work at the restaurant. But I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
We're almost done anyway. We got you.
Yeah, sorry about that. This is the struggle of
Nice
being
meeting you, John.
Listen,
But
this
hey, it was
is
nice to
life.
meet you. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Glad to have you, John. We'll see you on
Thank
the
you.
go around. Bye.
All right, bye.
So we'll continue on here. Thanks, John, for coming. And let me get him out. There we go. So all right. So last couple of questions here next one is on corruption. Many people are complaining how corrupt the state of New Hampshire has been because of its importance in the lead out in the primaries. Foreign entities are coming into the state and coercing contracts and regulations by creating golden relationships with the politicians of the state. What is your plan to weed out the corruption in the state of New Hampshire? Who wants to go first? Let me leave it to you guys.
I'll go. He's not jumping for the opportunity. I'll take it. It's pretty evident that the executive council has a lot of work to do once after this election. To weed out the corruption, you got to do audits. There's got to be a serious auditing going on. Nobody wants to pay for audits. Nobody wants to do the audits, but it just has to happen. We have to verify that the money's going where it's supposed to go. And if not, we got to determine where it does go and isolate these situations, weed them out that way. It's not something that's just a red flag here or there. It's the way they move money around. And you got jobs like this, windmills offshore coming in near Hampton. They're talking about having a casino out there. I know people like to gamble, but that's just floodgates for corruption. It's painted all over the walls there. We already had caught the current casino in Concord there, the one they had on the boat. They had an issue with that. It got caught. But it's just because the tax from the gambling goes to schools doesn't mean that we should just give them a green light every time. So schools are a third of our budget. We should really dig into the schools and really figure out how much of that's reasonable and not. A lot of this money for pandemics relief, COVID relief funds, you get the same people coming back asking for big chunks of change, but that's not some blanket deal. So it's not real clean way to handle money going around, and it's not fair to give it to some and not others. But there's red flags all over any special interest. Like you said, every one of these guys that gets $100 a year is their pay. Of course, they've got to do something else to eat, and so it's just highly suspect. Everything in our entire budget is part of why I'm running, is just because it all has to be gone through, and we need to stop rubber stamping everything that comes across the table at the executive council. We really need to tell them no, and instead of buying votes, prove our presence instead of just giving money to anybody that asks. Make it going where the people would have wanted it invested, not towards the biggest corporate funding.
It's interesting is that if we did forensic audits on the money of everything, and I don't mean to jump in on you, Ed, here on this,
Okay.
but if we did forensic audits on all the monies for distribution from government entities, it would be so easy with the technology of today to triangulate and find out who the cheats are. We're not doing it for a reason, I'll say that. So
Quantum financial system, that it would work if it was in full effect, but where's your transparency, and how it says that it calculates at light speed and it knows where every dollar is at all times, but how do you put your faith in that? You can't follow it as fast as it's moving it, and you're putting too much faith in electronics there. I think that we need to be more of a solid state currency while things are so turbulent in our government. We need a real audit with real receipts and with real banks and real accounts, and to be able to follow a real physical thing instead of trusting a computer to keep a digital record that relies on power and there's no physical thing to hold. I think that we really need physical currency, whether it's fiat or not, is a biggest part of our tax problem.
Great. Ed, do you want to go? I'm going to put you
Sure.
into the spot.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, like Shaun says, I agree. The corruption is ridiculous. I seen it, running for United States Senate. Democrats have act blue, and you look, I'm like, well, how the heck does Maggie Hassan have $97 million and, $30 million from Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts? So what the heck is she going to do with anything? But I guess that's common knowledge before, which I didn't know about till I ran. I'm like, were you kidding me? And I had people from Texas coming up to me and say, hey, listen, I'd like to contribute to you. I'm like, I don't take contributions, first of all, but Texas, what's Texas got to do in New Hampshire? No, thank you. I appreciated the offer, but I told them no. And the same deal. We got Governor Sununu and Maggie Hassan and Jin Shaheen. Now the Nation of Governors, where they all get together, National Governors Association. Now they contribute and deal with the WHO, a World Health Organization. Why is that? What does New Hampshire have to do with that? Nothing. They should have nothing to do with it. And same thing with Maggie Hassan. Same way that she's the Senate Finance Committee. What does she have to do with the UN? Hell no, that shouldn't be allowed. There's no reason they should be doing that and getting that money. 98%. They say 98% of Congress, has never had a blue collar job, yet they have the highest rate in the centers of millionaires of any job in a sector anywhere in the world. How is that possible that Elizabeth Warren, I'm using her for an example, is worth a report this week, $67 million on a $200,000 salary each year? How's that possible? I mean, that's just ridiculous. So to say there's no corruption, I mean, not to just pick on her, but she's just an example. Just because it's fresh in my mind, I seen it just 2 days ago. But the same thing here in New Hampshire. We got the St. Chris Sununu, the governor's national organization there, and contributing to the WHO. Maggie Hassan, same deal. Okay, all right. There's no reason why. Why are the governors taking these trips to, I'm going to go see Ukraine? Why? Ukraine is not New Hampshire. You stay here in New Hampshire. You want to visit there? You got a friggin' you got a computer, do a Zoom meeting. Save the taxpayers a shitload of money. I'm sending you there, and your entourage to go with you. There's no reason why you can't do it with a computer. Run on a laptop. You want to see what's going on? Hey, bloody, can you show me what's going on? Yeah, sure. Boom, boom, boom. Don't take no unnecessary trips and pork and fat, and hey, let's stick this in this bill, costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars, and all these bills they pass like 200 bills a friggin' week. How can you read all that? I'd like to put a limit to that too, honestly, where you slow down the bills so people actually have a time to read them and say, where's this money going to?
You remember, you got to sign it to find out what's in it.
Yes, exactly. Nancy Pelosi. And these guys are like, well, no. What kind of moron would sign something without reading it? And I think a lot of the corruption goes from that too. It just boggles my mind. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant, but
No.
The corruption's corruption. If you got to stop somewhere, be transparent. And my thought would be, hey, instead of giving exorbitant amounts of money, about if the governor or whoever, the senator, makes a medium salary from someone in New Hampshire, then you'll see who wants to do it because the love of the country, love of the state, and not for the money, and not to promote their agenda to someday be president. Then you'll see, boy, this guy's doing it for $50,000 a year.
So
there's somebody that cares for the state.
You know what? You're staying up there for this next question because you're leading us right into it. Is tell us about Ed's life and what your ability it is to commit to the state of New Hampshire for the next 6 years. How are you gonna make this work for Ed's life? Well,
because I can reach across the table. Just like Shaun, I reach out to him. Hey, Shaun, I like your deal with the currency. Can you tell me more about it? If I get elected and he doesn't, or hopefully vice versa too. I want the best person that's good for the job. And I have no problem reaching across the aisle and saying, hey, Kay, listen, I know we're different parties, but you know your stuff. And I like your idea. How can we fix this? And listening to the people. I think we were so far away from we the people. Now it's just get me in there. I'll do my job. And then once they get in there, no, thank you. I'm off to the races. No, and I want to have a system where I know it's supposed to be like this, but every county I'll be like, hey, Coas County, what do you guys got going on this week? Well, Ed, this is kind of shitty. Can you help us out with this? Okay, what are you guys thinking about this? And another county, call them each week and have them be able to set up a system where we can talk about it. Hey, okay, what can you do? Hey, Merrimack County did this. It worked pretty good. I know all counties are different, but this worked for them. Maybe we could try this. Where everybody has a voice to say, because it's supposed to be we the people. And my thought is you, me, we. That's the simplest way I can put it. That way you can tell me what's going on. I can hear what's going on. And somebody might, hey, like Shaun might have an idea. Hey, Ed, how about if we do this? Then somebody else, John might hear us say that. And John might be like, you know what? That's a good call, Shaun. But how about if we do this too? And I'll be like, oh yeah, I love that. Hey, let's throw this in there too. Awesome. Next thing you know, stuff's getting done because all three of us are able to talk to each other, listen to what the people want, and project it, not the party. Because that party, I found grassroots, town-wise, everybody's awesome. Everybody has good hearts, and for the most part. Then when you start getting to county, then the regional, then district, then state, forget it. It just goes right out the window. Anything higher than the district, forget it. That's just my view on it, and I just can't get past that. That seems to be the whole life span of this that I've noticed. It doesn't change. It doesn't matter who's in there. And hopefully Shaun gets in there. You shake things up, buddy. If I don't, I'm rooting for you. We need good people.
But before Shaun answers here, I'll just say, looking at the three of you guys tonight, I think everyone who watches this is going to see exactly what is wrong with what's going on mainstream media, is that by not giving you guys the same platform that they give everybody else, it stifles exactly what's going on here. You wind up with two people who are being paid to be at each other's throats. And here you have three different people with three different sets of ideas from three different parties who really almost have all said the same exact things. You all want the same things. But yet, when we get on the TV, somehow they get us all to just scream at each other because it's entertainment, you know? So, you know what, Shaun, you want to go on this one? And then what I think we'll do is I want to share who our partners are with the new, with some of the stuff that has been happening here, who's been helping us and encourage people to become affiliates, get involved and to help you guys here. So, Shaun, why don't you go? Then I'm going to show our affiliates and then you guys can do your closing.
So I think what I bring to the table is I've worked as a blue collar guy. I've worked at many capacities, but because of the variety of them, I actually have the insight that is required to do a lot of the things that are coming. When it comes to building roads and stuff, yeah, you're going to hire somebody that knows what they're talking about. But for me to know enough about the process myself to where I could interview people who do act professionally and do come from the background and can prove it and have the track record, I'd be able to read those resumes fluidly. Whereas I've worked as an operator, a mechanic, a welder, I've been a surveyor, I've put the locks in prisons, I've welded underwater, I've worked on nuclear power plants or in the oil field. I just have a lot of carpentry and different types of background experience where I know what it takes to do these projects. And I know when somebody's giving me a lot of smoke, blowing smoke, because I know what the timelines are. I know what the budgets are like. And I know what the people are like that are doing it. And I know how those industries are changing. And so as infrastructure goes, I have a great insight on how to create it, how to maintain it, and how to deal with the people who would do that and the equipment and materials it would take. But when it comes down to the Constitution, we need somebody that follows it. And like you're saying, constitutional party or whoever gets in there, we need somebody that's going to go along with the Constitution and take the advice when somebody says, hey, what you're about to do is unconstitutional. You don't do it. You don't just move forward in those times. You say, why? What can we do different? Do we have to do this, or is there some other way? Resolve that issue. Don't just move forward because you feel like it's necessary. If it's unconstitutional, it's just no, period. And I've got ideas for money. Anybody could do that. We could talk about it. But the mindset where you would approach these things that aren't politically correct, just not driven by the funding. This is it's capitalism here, and I'm big for capitalism. But in order for it to work, there needs to be competition. So I'm in it for creating the competition, not the monopolies. I'm in it for the little guy, not the big guy. And I'm not trying to weed out all the big people, but I'm trying to make it a fair playing field. That way you don't end up having to go 30, 40 minutes to get the same thing. We used to have variety in New Hampshire. We used to have sustainability in New Hampshire, and we used to be very self-reliant. And so it'd be my goal to concentrate on bringing that back and maintaining what's left of it. And family values are priority number one. If it pulls a family apart, it's the wrong idea. We should do what we can to keep families together, to keep children with their natural born parents, and to not put them in situations unnecessary. And so judicial accountability is a big one. We got to go through these family courts and get them working for the families, not for the government. And just the fact I'm related to everybody here. It's all family. I'm not out to hurt my own family. I'm here to help them. Not just any particular one of them. It's a broad range of different characters that I'm related to in New Hampshire, and you want them all to succeed. And from education to occupation to handicaps, every aspect of life has to be considered. And don't force it. If the people don't want it, don't force it.
And like Ed, who, you know, is going to have to make a transition from, oh, listen to that. What is that? So he's going to have to make a transition. That's okay. From fixing cars, you from the farm, are you both going to be able to manage that in a way where your life is going to be able to handle that change?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 56 years old. So next, I'm looking forward to retiring. I'm planning whatever. But yeah, in the Marine Corps, when I got in, I flew in the 53 Echo helicopter as a crew chief mechanic. And now these things have 3 jet turbine engines in them. So I got an A&P license and I associate's degree in aviation science. So, and I got an A&P license to work on any aircraft there is. So, but now when I was doing that, our platoon was 350 people, and I noticed they weren't doing things. There was ways that I felt I could have had things get done better. So I went to the higher ups. I said, "Hey, why don't we try this?" And they're like, "Yeah, So eventually they listened to me. And when they listened to me, sure enough, instead of doing 1 plane in 3 weeks, I was pumping out 3 planes in 10 days. Going through them, they call it a phase, where you do the jet engines and the gearboxes and stuff like that. Just for simple things, I noticed about that. Now I got three medals for it. They call them NAMs. And I was a Marine. NAM stands for Navy Achievement Medal. The Navy awarded me these medals. Some guys only have a squadron with 1 person who gets a NAM. I personally had 3 NAMs for that reason. Does it mean I know everything about the aircraft? Nope. But I see an issue and I said, hey, this is how we approach this. We can do this. And I worked outside with them. A lot of guys, staff sergeants, they'd be out doing staff sergeant stuff, whatever, golfing or whatever, with the higher ups, rubbing elbows with politicians, whoever. Nope, not me. I was on the aircraft, working with them guys, and they see it, and they're like, they'll work harder for you. So that's my approach with them too. But I also listened. Hey, what do you guys see? What's wrong with it? So I can listen to people, and you fix things. First you got to identify the problem. Okay, here is the problem. Okay, 6 solutions, pros and cons. Okay, if we go this route, okay, this is going to be good. If we go that route, okay, that's going to be bad. Weigh the options, then follow through. And that's pretty much my plan on all of it. I'll be honest with you. Identify the problem, approach the problem, pros and cons, then commit and get it done. And
you're ready.
Find the best person that you can who knows what they're talking about. If you don't, that's another thing. I don't care what color they are. I don't care none of that stuff of we have to have 3 colored people. Nope. If you're good at it and you're black, hey, good. I don't care about that color stuff. Be honest with you. Just like Constitution, all men are created equal and all that. Yes, I 100% believe that. So that being said, hey, if you're the best man for the job, I want you. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. You're the man, and you're the person or woman. You're the one I'm going to go to, and that's how I approach things.
Great, Ed. And you, Shaun, are you gonna be able to leave Jeannie on that farm?
So everything I've been doing to this point is basically, if I lose, it's harvest season. We just put the stuff up and carry on the way I usually do. But I put a big press on the farm to do anything that I was really going to do here. We have relatives that have moved in, so they're able to pick up anything that I was doing. They're able to take care of it, and just so I can concentrate on this. But I wouldn't have took up this work when I did without knowing I could walk away from it. because same reason I don't have a relationship. You know, I've got my kids. I'm not. That's my marriage is just my kids, and not looking for a relationship. I know it doesn't look good that you don't have a partner in life, but I look at that as a distraction. But this farm is really the only distraction I have left. And as soon as if I'm elected, everything here will be closed up for the winter anyways. It's and there's other people to perform all the necessary help that I usually do. But
Great.
yeah, I'm ready to walk away from it, and they'd be happy to have me stay, but they'd be happy to have me go because they understand that it's for the same cause. You know, I'll be trying to help them save this, whether I'm working in government towards it or if I'm working on the farm towards it.
Great. So before we do our closing statements, I'm just going to share our sponsors. You can go to insurapatriot.com. Here's the website. So listen, what we've done here that I want to close out with is we've created a model where we can help other small content providers on the internet generate a revenue model that they can be proud of, that will service, you know, their viewership in a way that they would be happy with, plus give them the ability to make unbiased revenues so that they can continue doing what we're doing. So I want to invite other webcasters to come reach out, discuss with us what can be done here and why it's being done this way. Some of the first people who have come are Adrian Reed from We Are One. We have Born for Such a Time. Substack is part of Chosen Media Group. You saw me last week, you know, read some of the Substack. We're going to be continuing to feature that. Also, we have Unmuzzled Chat, and I'm going to show their websites here in a second. James just does a really nice, calm job of breaking things down. So all of these people are going to become a part of the content of our channel. Plus, we're going to become parts of their channel. We're going to share content. Plus, we're going to help each other grow, you know, their audience and generate a revenue model from one source, so that way we can continue to maintain an unbiased presence online. Sea Cricket is a friend of ours that is making music about the Lord. Check her out. She's also on Truth Social. All of these people are on Truth Social. Most are on Rumble. Also here, let me go to this. We have Therese. Can you say her last name? Basrach.
That's the rash.
Pastor Ash, yeah. This is
Well-
donated by 2A Tactical
Mhm.
to help support her campaign.
So to help support her campaign, she's auctioning off this Glock, or it's a raffle for a Glock.
Glock 19.
If you go to her website, you can help support her campaign. Plus, she's a big supporter of We the People New Hampshire, which has been very supportive of Shaun and probably you too, Ed,
Yep.
and in the community of the conservative movement in New Hampshire and around the country. They're starting up other ones. So everybody take a look at We the People New Hampshire. Let me
Now she's suspended from the website for 3 days, so interaction with that will be on pause for 3 days. But you have till the 30th to enter the raffle, and the drawing will be on the 4th of July. But yeah, it really looks like that. It's a nice custom Glock 19. It's pretty cool that they donated that. Good luck to whoever wins it.
And actually, did I pull? Oh, this is what I wanted to show, because this is a big one, guys. So, let me go here. So you're looking at Unmuzzled Chat. He's another one of the small content providers that has decided to do some things with us, and we look forward. Go check him out on Rumble. Next, we have really good news. This is the really good news I was looking to share. And Ed, hopefully you want to come on board too, is that Carolyn Kane from CD7 in Texas has won her primary. She is now the Republican candidate and a Magi Republican. Her and Shaun were the first Magi's, and she won.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So you can get to her website here. And then plus, you know what? You guys tell me if you're able to hear this. I think the sound went off. So I just want to make sure.
We got it.
Yep.
Oh, sound went away. We lost sound. We lost sound, Mark.
Oh, no. Oh, we lost sound? Hold on.
Yes, we did. Yep.
Let me see if I could get it back. You tell me if it comes back. Nothing?
No.
Hold on. I'm going to remove it and I'm going to bring it back. Stop screen.
Well, thank you
present.
very much, Ed, for giving me good competition. You know,
Hey, thank you for being
it is
you.
so nice seeing that there's options.
Yeah.
And whether it's for me, for you, I'm really happy to see that somebody else is interested in supporting the Constitution here.
Absolutely, brother. I'm right back at you times two.
If you can't do the Republican Party, you know,
Yep.
you're a great option. And if you're willing to stick to the guns with the GOP,
Yeah.
So let's share her a second and then we'll come back. I think it's working.
I'm Caroline Kane. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative, an award-winning small business owner, and a contributing writer to Forbes Real Estate Council. For years, I've donated to Republican candidates in hopes of saving our country, but I was constantly let down by false campaign promises. So guess what? I'm running for Congress in Congressional District 7 to help save this country. Most Americans are not happy about the direction this country is headed, and it's no different in CD7. An open border, out of control spending, a weak economy are hurting all of us. When I get to Congress, I'm slamming the brakes on this anti-American regime that lives on Capitol Hill, and I'll return us to a government that is for and by the people. Let's raise some cane in DC, and I'll see you on the campaign trail.
Man, they
Nice.
really put it together when you win, huh? You got that going on. I told her I was going to help her out with one too. So next thing, and then you guys are off, is Aid Reed from We Are One. This is his Rumble, as well as he has the Fall of the Cabal series.
our link to the UK, that is England. We can't just we can't put our podcast directly there. We had some issues with the link, and so Aid was nice enough to provide a way for us to be seen in England.
Yep.
So we're in the international debate here.
And then lastly is Shaun, introduced to Kantara Concealment. They're waiting on us to do a show. They want to do a show with us. So we just want to give a kudos to them for being involved and getting involved in politics and helping out the little guys.
That's that new firearm shop in Concord, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're great. I saw them at the gun show 2 Saturdays ago. Just really nice, family owned. They got their permits. The work it took was probably close to 2 years for them to get themselves legal and set up, but they're doing it. And
so make sure to tell them we pumped them, because we didn't tell them that we were going to pump them. All right, they'll be happy about that. So guys, why don't you give a 3-minute summation of why we should all vote for you, and let's end it for the night. It was so great to have you guys. Amazing.
Yep. Well, I said I'm sure everybody's sick of one side does one way and one side's the other. Left fights with right fights with left. And as George Washington, one of his statements was he warned about the dangers of a two-party system, and it should always be we the people. And as long as you have faith in the Constitution or believe in the Constitution, that's what the Constitution Party is about. and I'm a very blue collar guy. You know, um, yeah, I'm one of the people, and that's what I hope to bring to everybody. You know, hey, enough's enough. You know, I so sick of voting for this guy and hope he represents me, and then to get stabbed in the back. You know, enough's enough. That was my whole thought on this, and it still my thought, and I just want to hear from everybody. You know, I want to represent the people, and tell me what's going on. You know, if I don't know, I don't know. If you have an issue, hey, yeah, this sucks. I think you're wrong on that. Okay, cool. Well, tell me why. And I can guarantee you, I won't argue with you. If your opinion's your opinion, I ain't gonna argue with no one's opinion. But boy, you might say something, and I'd be like, you know what? I never thought of it that way. Thanks for bringing that up. You know, because sometimes you hear something from somebody else, you're like, wow, I never thought of it that way. How could I not possibly have seen it that way? And then that little extra sometimes helps you get over. And that's what I want to bring.
You know what, Ed? That was a very smart statement, because in all that we've learned over the last 4 years is that sometimes you just got to listen a little bit and keep the mouth a little bit more closed until you're ready to make that mouth open moment after you've had a chance to assess it, because we all tend to be so quick to defend our side that we don't even hear what's going on the other side.
Yeah, amen.
So thanks, Ed. We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you for having me, man.
here. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
So Shaun, you're up, and then we're done.
Well,
You're off for the evening.
Conservative angle, but I'm going to keep America, Jesus included. I'm not forcing my religion on anybody, but I'm going to prevent the government from preventing you from experiencing your choice of religion. When they had the lockdowns and wouldn't let people go to churches and things like that, it was unacceptable to me. And then my particular religion, I'm a Christian Scientist, and to have a religion where you don't use medicine and be told that you're going to have a forced mandate vaccine, it's unacceptable. So it's unconstitutional what they've been doing, and that's just a good example of how it's affected me. I've had the struggles myself, and I'm just in this to try and prevent everybody else from having the same struggles I had. Prevent the government from taking your things from you once you have them. Make it so you can have a sustainable life in a loving family environment, and freedom of choice, and every person be treated equal, is really my main goal. But as a Republican, it's kind of our history to keep liberals from taking over. It's why the Republican Party was started. So I understand they have their values, and I'm not trying to govern every aspect of their life. But for our government, capitalism, it's a republic run by the Republican Party in a democratic manner, is what I'm trying to maintain with honesty and integrity. And so checks and balances, actually use them, and follow the rule of law instead of creating new rules. Just follow the ones we have. They'll work if we follow them. And it's my intent to do just that.
Great. Thanks, Shaun. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, sir.
Amazing job. Keep on both doing what it is that you're doing. Keep on rowing that boat, and whatever we can do to help either of you, just give us a call. We're here for you.
Thanks
Want
for
to come on?
Thanks for putting this together.
Yep. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
you for coming. Yeah, I would have sat here talking to myself. It wasn't for you guys stepping up to the plate. Both of you, fantastic job. You and John, both. But yeah, I mean,
back at the times too,
if I wasn't running, I know who I'd be voting for.
Nice sign.
that is a nice sign.
It is. I'm a little jealous. That's a really nice sign. I mean, if I was a sign guy, I'd have a nice sign like that. But luckily, I have your sign.
It's appreciated.
All right, guys.
I'm glad we met, and thank you for stepping up to the plate.
You too, brother.
Guys. Let's go out to the commercial, and we're gone. See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Bye.
God bless.
At InsureAPatriot.com, our partners are aligned with your values. While we can't control who the most efficient carrier is for your area, we become the service model that acts as the intermediary with you and the best products in the market. No more waiting on robocalls to be shipped off to a foreign call center.